Hi, this is Tim Meyer from Keep Yourself Relevant. Thanks for joining today. Today, in this video, we want to cover a leadership topic, and that is specifically how you, as a project manager or a department manager, can utilize the concepts of situational leadership to lead your team. So, this video has some objectives. The first thing is we just want to introduce you to the situational leadership principles, followed up by review the situational leadership 2 model. And again, we'll uh, work with you to give you the ability to identify the leadership styles needed for a particular situation. As the name implies, it's situational leadership. And then we also want to spend some time reinforcing the situational leadership with some examples and situations that you will utilize potentially in the workplace. And then we want to identify the 3 skills that are needed for situational leadership in an ongoing basis. So, some background in situational leadership. It was developed by Ken Blanchard and Paul Hersey while they were at the Ohio University in 1968. They did an extensive study of various companies, and they came up with and identified from that survey and interviews with those companies. They came up with there was 2 basic leadership styles: an autocratic one, which was tough and domineering, and then a democratic one, which was soft and easy. So those were the 2 leadership styles that were predominantly found in the companies that they looked at. They identified some problems with those 2 types of leadership styles. One, the overleading was autocratic. The team often felt they didn't have the trust of the managers. There was more task and relationship driven. And then underleading or benevolent, they were assigning tasks which were inadequate, so the team members felt insecure or left behind. And then they identified some missing elements that was missing in the ability for the manager to effectively lead, and that was the development of the individual team member they were working with. And it wasn't adaptable for all situations. So they tended to have one style of leadership and try to use that across all team members rather than, as the name implies, situational leadership, where you, depending on the situation and the individual, you potentially change your style of leadership. So, the leadership quote that I want to bring to you is: to bring out the best in others, leadership must match development level to the person being led. That's the key to situational leadership. As the name implies, in a certain situation, you apply a certain type of leadership style. So there's 4 levels of individual development. As I indicated, they identified there were some missing pieces in the survey they did, that they didn't focus, the management teams didn't tend to focus on the development aspect of the person they were managing. So the first phase of individual development is in a D1, for D for development, enthusiastic beginner. They have low competence and high commitment. They're really interested in working hard and doing a good job, but they just don't have the skill or competence yet. Then, as we progress to the left on the picture below, you can see we have D2, a disillusioned learner. They have low to some competence, so they've started to develop some skills. They also have high commitment. The next level up is a D3. They're capable but cautious performer. They're moderate to high competence, and they're variable commitment. So they're sometimes committed and sometimes not. And then a D4 is a self-reliant achiever. They have high competence, meaning they have the high skills, and they also have high commitment. So obviously that's what you're striving to get your individuals to be able to be: a D4 or self-reliant achiever. Then they also discovered and identified that there's 4 different leadership styles that should be used when you're managing team members. The first one is S1, style 1, and that's directing. Style 2 is coaching. Style 3 is supporting. And style 4 is delegating. So they came up with this, what they call their 2x2 model. As you can see, it's outlined here and I'll fill in the model as we go through this. So the first one that we have is we identify the development level of the individuals on the left side of the model. We go from D1, which is low competency but high commitment, all the way up to D4, high commitment and high skills and high competency. We put on the bottom of the matrix the styles of leadership. And S1 is a directing style, S2 is coaching, on through S3 and 4, and S4 is a delegating style. Then we identified that if you're not meeting the needs of the person, you tend to overlead them. And then if you're not meeting the match, which is the purple in the middle, you'd be underleading them. So obviously you want to try to identify and match on providing a D1 candidate or team member that has low competence and high commitment. You would use a style of directing, a leadership style of directing for that person. Obviously, for a D2, you would use a coaching style. So someone who has moderate skills but has variable commitment, you would use a supporting style of leadership. And then lastly, for someone that has high skills and high commitment, you would use a delegating style of leadership. And again, the idea behind situational leadership is you're focusing on the development of each person, as well as the tasks that you're assigning someone. So you would have a situation where someone might be a very experienced person, but might be new to a particular task. You would change your style just because a person is experienced and you often delegate work to them. If that member that you normally delegate work to is doing a new task, you may try to direct them first and then coach them, support them, and then finally when they've learned that new task or that new skill, then you would move into the delegating style. So obviously you want to make sure that you're keeping in mind this particular framework, that you have development of the individual on one side, and then you modify your style of leadership based on the competency of the person that you're working with. So again, they identified this 2x2 model that on the bottom side, you have directive behavior focusing from the low side to the high. And then you also have supportive behavior moving from low to high as well on the left-hand side. So if we have a directing style of leadership, so for example, you have one of your children, you ask them to take out the garbage. Depending on their age, you may not be able to just delegate that. You'd have to actually show them where the garbage is in the kitchen, for example, and then how to take it out of the garbage in the kitchen and move it out to the trash can outside or in the garage or wherever you have your garbage. If you move on to the next example, a coaching style, an example would be you're coaching one of your children's basketball teams, and you're trying to get them to adjust their elbow on free throws. So you would actually show them and coach them on how to do that. An example of supporting is, let's say that your child is into rock climbing and they're struggling to take on a more difficult climb. You would actually offer them support for that particular activity and support them and encourage them that they can do it. This might just be a new route that they're taking. And then lastly, as your children get older and they've mowed the lawn several times, you would just say, hey, can you go mow the lawn, please? And you would delegate that task because they know where the lawnmower is, they know where the lawn is, they know how to mow the lawn. So obviously, as the skill level gets increased, you can then start to move to the delegating, which is the highest or the most the lowest directive behavior for a style of leadership. And then we also have some examples here where if you're directing someone, they need a high directive and low support behavior because they're very motivated to do the work. you'd have a coaching style. The characteristics are they're high directive. You're still directing them a lot, but you're also supporting their behavior because they're still encouraged and motivated to move forward, but you're trying to make that transition from totally directing them to moving forward with just coaching them. The next style is you have a supporting, you're low directive. They don't necessarily need to know how to do the work. They just need some high support from you from a behavior standpoint so that they are motivated and you're supporting them to get the job done. They know how to do it, but they just may be disinterested at a particular time or something going on in their family situation that may affect their motivation and interest in working for a particular day or period of time. And then last, we have the delegating style where there's low direction. You just tell them what they need to do, and you're still in a high supporting behavior because they know what they're doing. So as we move through this, again, on the bottom side, we have the development phase of the individual from D1 to D4, and then you move forward with adding in directing, you moving into coaching. Then as you need more support, the behavior needs more support, then you move into supporting. And when you need less behavior, and then you move into the delegating mode. And again, this style of leadership changes as the person goes through this development from left to right, from D1, which is low skills, to high skills. You change your coaching style or leadership style based on that activity. And then you want to make sure that going forward, you identify and be aware that these are the skills that you will need to continue to work on situational leadership. There's 3 skills that need to be developed to apply situational leadership. The first is the ability to diagnose. So you want to be able to diagnose both their skill that's needed for a particular task and where that individual is relative to that skill that's needed, and then their interest or motivation in being able to do that task. Then you also want to be flexible so that you're aware that as a person changes and moves from their skills become higher and higher for a particular task, that you're flexible and you change your style from potentially a directing style to a coaching style, and then finally to a delegating style once they've matured in their in their competency for a particular skill that's needed. And then you want to partner with them for performance. So again, as we look through the model, we again have taking into account the development of the person from D1 to D4, meaning they're able to do the work on their own in a D4. We want to be able to diagnose and have the flexibility in your leadership style to change based on both what's needed for a particular task and what's needed for a particular individual based on where they are in their development life cycle. Again, on directing, and you move into coaching, then into supporting, and into delegating. And then again, you want to make sure that you're flexible as you apply this model so that if a person's new to a particular task, you direct them in the beginning, move through the cycle of coaching, supporting, and delegating as their behavior and interest and motivation continues. So as long as they're still highly motivated to do the work, you can apply directing and delegating style. If they become a little less motivated and a little less interested, you might apply coaching and supporting. So their behavior, as the behavior is changed, then you would want to be able to change your coaching style. So some final thoughts is, again, this is a progression of skills as a leader or a project manager. You want to make sure that you're aware of where you are in your own self-leadership. You assumed you've actually aware of that, and by taking and watching a video like this, you've already realized that you need to potentially look at how you lead your team members. And then for this particular video, we're focusing on the one-on-one leadership and situational leadership, where we're applying the 4 different leadership styles based on the individual development phase of that individual is for a particular task. And then you can move on to team leadership and organizational leadership. Hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for joining today. If you liked the video, please consider giving it a like. And if you like these types of videos, please consider subscribing. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.